All right, let's take a look at some BAT charts for the latest article on Brave New Coin. So BAT is essentially, basic attention token, is an alternative ad revenue stream or direct revenue stream similar to Patreon. Essentially the users paying the content creator directly. So they've onboarded at this point nearly 450,000 people, which is good because you're continually seeing growth. Obviously, the higher the better with that number. Would love it to see break the 1 million publisher mark. This is just the distribution as far as which publishers on which platforms. Mostly it's YouTube and websites, some Twitter as well. I think the Twitch trajectory, which is a video streaming platform, is impressive. I think the YouTube numbers are just impressive in general. But if we look at just the charts where it's been over the past year, really nice growth there for YouTube creators. For Twitch creators, it's going parabolic. I think Twitch is one of the best models for the BAT stuff, just because there's a lot of direct like tipping basically of creators there. Vimeo, similar to YouTube, video channel, really taking off. So those are all going in the right direction. Looks like exactly the type of thing you'd want to see. If we look at transactions per day, which is the line, and the fill is average transaction values. Since January 2019, average transaction values have essentially just ranged around or below 4K, 1K, something like that. Transactions per day sort of peaked post April 2019 and then fell off. After October, you're starting to see monthly publisher rewards get distributed, and that happened throughout. I think they changed it perhaps to the same day for everybody, which is why you get these spikes once a month. And then last month, February, I think, is when we saw this massive spike. So a lot more publishers got paid out, I think, last month. So it's hard to look at like the transactions per day for BAT, the token specifically, as anything completely organic because people are getting paid out every month, the publishers. It's not necessarily people like directly sending BAT every day to anybody. So I think you have to look at it with a little different lens than you do any other currency network. It's bullish, don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's like as bullish as it might seem just because it's sort of muted, or the potential is purely based on the number of publishers. That's why I focus on publishers so much, and content creators. If there's more content creators onboarded, it just should be bullish for the token itself. Maybe not the token value, but the more people that are using it and transacting should be bullish for the ecosystem, the BAT ecosystem. Daily active address is very similar to transactions per day. That's the fill here. It peaked post-April and it is climbing up again recently because more publishers are being onboarded. That's how I would read that. This is NVT, an inverse metric of economic utility. And this should continue to go down as more publishers are brought on board because more people are transacting, getting paid out in BAT, basically. If we switch gears to technicals, BAT historically, this is the BAT USD chart. It's historically ranged in a very tight zone between like 10 and 40 cents. Hasn't really had its moment. I think this is in large part due to the type of token it is. So if you're a publisher, you get paid out in BAT. And for the most part, you either sell it immediately or you hold it forever. I don't really think there's anybody in between. Most people are probably just selling it and getting the USD value, which is probably why, unless there's a speculative move like there was in 2019, just market wide, that it's just going to continually have sell pressure as it gets distributed every month. And people are, instead of holding it, they're selling it. So I think that's why there's like limited upside just permanently because of that, unless like the number of users far outnumbers the publishers by magnitude or transactions per magnitude. So like there's a tipping point as far as like when it gets out of this range price wise, but I don't think it's any measure of a store of value just based on 1 billion tokens in circulation. Like it's a great medium of exchange. I think it's a very poor store of value. So TA wise, it did have its bullish 5200 cross, the second one ever. And it's again in the middle of this range. This is VPVR volume profile of the visible range, and it's just stuck. It's got to either be above this or below this to have any really like bearish momentum, bullish momentum. No divergences on RSI or volume that I can see. Another trend metric, the cloud. We want it above the cloud for bullish, below the cloud for bearish. It's in a hot mess of a range right now. Historically, again, same story. If we're ranging, it's not a great time to be using trend metrics. You want to use trend metrics when the chart is trending. So it's really almost an ignore for me trend-wise until it's above a nickel, not a nickel, a quarter, until it's above a quarter. When's the last time you actually touched change? I haven't in a very long time. So yeah, unless it's above a quarter, basically the last local high, it'll probably just keep ranging, which is fine. Again, it's a great medium of exchange. And then lastly, if we look at BAT BTC, a little bit more of a striking chart as far as what I'm looking for in a trade. So it had this massive range that was tightening from 2017 to mid 2019. Then it had this big breakout, and then it Eiffel Towered all the way back down, basically all-time lows. So now it's been consolidating since then over the past 6 to 8 months, 10 months. I really like the long side if we're above 3,100 sats, this local zone here. You could argue Adam Eve. You could also argue ascending triangle. Both are bullish. When it's above the cloud, above the 200, above this range, that's when I think it has a really good chance to push back into 4,000 sats, 5,000 sats. It's going to have a hell of a time getting above 5,000 sats just based on this volume profile. Anybody who's holding a long position or a BAT spot position at 5,000 sats is going to want to sell at break even. That's just like how psychology works for trading when we get back up there. So you're going to be dealing with all of that stuff. So that's why it'll need to reconsolidate. It'll need to find buyers at 4,000 to 5,000 sats to normalize that price again. So it may range for, another year at 5,000 sats like it did here until it actually makes a move. But in the meantime, I do like the 3,000 to 5,000 sat long trade. I don't really see any bullish divergences other than the possibility of just a continual weak bullish divergence where we're getting sort of lower micro lows and a higher RSI compared to the previous same range. Not like a frank bullish divergence, but again, it gives me some hope for probably within the next month. We'll know for certain if this gets above